Teachers, what was the worst thing a substitute teacher did while you were gone? Back when I was a teacher, I had a sub decide my plans weren't good enough for her and went rogue. She decided to show my students videos of animals giving birth on YouTube. I taught English. WT. Exactly what I said when I came back and heard about what happened. Now I really want to know what your students were saying to you once you got back. Like, how do you even describe that to a teacher? You know how we were supposed to do English? Yeah, so now we know how an elephant gives birth. I regret writing this comment. I'm a little late to the party, but here it goes. I had a grade 1 half class last year, and one student had diabetes. Let's call him Adam. So Adam had a cell phone that beeps when his blood sugar is too low/high. It's connected to the monitor in his arm/hip. The cell phone has no other uses, no apps, no data, not connected to the school Wi-Fi. The substitute saw his phone on his desk and promptly took it away as per the no devices rule. During gym class an EA comes in to make sure everything is okay, and Adam is visibly ill, pale/sweating, the whole works. Luckily the CA knows Adam's medical plan, instantly asks the Adam for the phone, and he explains that the substitute took it away in the morning. The EA then loses it on the substitute demanding the phone. The substitute calls in the principal to reprimand the EA, then get reprimanded herself as obviously she did not read the student's safety plans. She was asked to leave, and the principal taught the class the rest of the day. Adam was fine, drank a couple juice boxes, and had a granola bar. Mom picked him up shortly after. That teacher was a bitch. Good to hear that Adam was okay though. So, fuck that horrible witch. And B, I read that as grade 1 half and was momentarily confused. Haha. Rearranged my room. Not in a move student A away from student B and put her by student C way. In a move the giant rug over to the opposite corner of the room and completely change the layout of student desks and rearrange a bookshelf way. Okay, this is the weirdest one. Like, the other ones are explainable as the subs being assholes, but this? Just why? I've had teachers temporarily rearrange rooms for activities. It never seemed a big deal to me, but I've also never been in a classroom with a rug. I've had so many bad subs. One sub made an elementary student cry insisting her own name was misspelled and made her stand up in front of the class and admit her name was spelled wrong. I asked that she not return, but I still saw her around as other teachers had her sub. Another one worth mentioning was supposed to be my sub for the last 2 weeks of school because I went on maternity leave, this time teaching at a 7th 12th grade school. Ignored all my sub plans, played on his cell phone the whole time, and then like 3 days in got upset at the students and told them off. And then they watched as he walked out to the parking lot and drove away. Thank goodness some kids went and told the office. When I came back it was like my room had been ransacked. It was awful. Left my perfectly prepped and neat desk an absolute disaster, did not follow the lesson plan, and took my gel pens. No, not the gel pens. I had a sub steal my dry erase markers and emergency chocolate once. After that, I locked my drawers and left them with 2 pens and 1 dry erase marker. Edit. Till how many people don't know what emergency chocolate is? It can be for you, your work friends, or in my case, occasionally also for students who are having a tough day and might be cheered up a little by some chocolate. It builds goodwill. Go get yourself some, and make sure it's the good stuff. The mixed bag of individually wrapped Ghirardelli squares is my recommendation. It's a small portion, and just one of those feels like a treat, not the emergency chocolate. I had a cool Chinese lucky cat that went missing after I had a sub. My students said the sub seemed really intrigued by it, talked about it several times, and even moved it from the shelf where it sat and brought it over to my desk. It was gone when I returned the next day. That's a new level of petty. Seriously, did no one teach that sub some boundaries? Not a teacher, but in 9th grade my algebra teacher had her baby early in the year, so she was gone till the last month or 2 months of the school year. The sub was a former teacher, so you'd think she'd be a great sub. Nope. She hyper-focused on 3 to 4 out of the 28 students in the class and just teach them, while completely ignoring the rest of us. She'd pass out a worksheet, then go to her students and never acknowledge us again till she dismissed us. Never checked homework, never acknowledged us. If anyone outside of her favorite students raised their hand or spoke up, they were ignored, etc. Which went about as well as you expected with a bunch of 14 to 15-year-olds. That class was just wild. The kids who actually stayed in the classroom anyway, it was a mess. I'm actually surprised we weren't reported or visited by the teachers on either side of us for how loud we were. After several months with this lady, the vice principal was walking around randomly checking classrooms and walked into our shit show algebra I class. He lost it, yelled at all of us to sit down and shut up, which she also didn't acknowledge. Demanded she leave and sat with us the rest of the period. Never saw her again and had maybe 6 to 7 different subs after her. 2 weeks after this, our regular teacher came back. When she realized we had learned nothing and learned the extent of how useless this lady had been, she started tearing up. I passed the classroom on the way to the bathroom during the next period and saw her sobbing at her desk. A friend of my mom's worked at the central office where they assigned or organized the substitute teachers. That lady was permanently taken off the substitute list. Fucking hate teachers like that. Serves her right. I felt so bad for my algebra I teacher. She basically had to teach all of us a year's worth of math in less than 2 months, while also dealing with a class full of kids and who were used to doing whatever they wanted. Ironically, the 3 to 4 the sub focused on ended up scoring the lowest on the end of year test. Just to add to this, I was friends with one of the students she focused on. He said she was a horrible teacher and made no sense whatsoever. Said he'd rather she just have ignored him too, and couldn't for the life of him figure out why she liked him and the others so much. She basically had to teach all of us a year's worth of math in less than 2 months, while also dealing with a class full of kids and who were used to doing whatever they wanted. And with a fucking newborn baby at home. That initial period of separation is often super difficult for mothers, especially if it's their first child. Your teacher had every reason to be an emotional mess without having to deal with the shit show she returned to. That's awful, but shame on the administrators in this situation. It should have been caught much earlier on that no learning was happening. I have no idea how it wasn't caught earlier. The regular teacher left in late September or early October, and it was close to April by the time the vice principal blew up at our class. So it was months before this was discovered. Not a teacher, but I know this was a disaster for my teacher. We had been studying Romeo and Juliet and West Side Story, and our teacher had created a very comprehensive exam where we would be asked to compare and contrast characters, situations, and themes of the two as answers to some very specific questions. He had spent countless hours ensuring that it was fair and complete. We were going to have the exam the following Monday, and he was taking Friday off. So he told us that in addition to the weekend, we should also use Friday's class to prepare for the exam. His instructions to the substitute were likely something like, tell them to prepare for the exam. They already know what to do. She marched in and shouted, prepare for an exam, and proceeded to hand it out. Of course, we protested, but what substitute hasn't heard, we are not supposed to get the exam today from a class at one time or another? When Monday came, the teacher was devastated. He could not count the scores. He wouldn't even attempt to grade it. He did not feel right giving the exam, now that we had seen it. All the work he put into it and all the insight he suspected he might gain from scoring it were lost. Instead, we spent the day reviewing what we could have, should have, would have answered. As you can tell, I could really feel his pain. There was a harpsichord in the front of the classroom used both for demonstration and performance. Not knowing what he was doing, the sub tried to tune 3 notes that had gone mildly out of tune while I was away. He managed to break the strings on all 3 notes and left a message inside reading, sorry about that. There was a secret harpsichord at my university. Not to everyone obviously, but most of the music majors didn't know it existed. I was teaching myself piano at the time and played the wheels off that bad boy after discovering it. If I could have strapped it to my car, I would have taken it home after spring semester. Now, I've heard there was a secret harpsichord that lonely scene test played, and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? I've never played a harpsichord. Even I know you don't touch the strings of a harpsichord if you aren't trained for it. Also, why after you broke the first one, why would you keep going? Then you break another one and just say third time's the charm. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more videos. Also like the video if you enjoy it.